Hello guys, NautoAis here, and I want to give my thoughts on Idea Factory International finally announcing a release window for the Hyper Dimension Neptunia Rebirth series for the PlayStation 4. So yes, I did talk about the Switch version. East Asia Soft are in charge of that. Again, just in case for people who didn't watch my other videos, Nintendo of America denied the release of Neptunia Rebirth series. What East Asia Soft did was they're doing an Asian version which has English dub and English text, and it's compatible with the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch 2, well, that's a different story there. So anyway, that's the gist of it. That's why Idea Factory National doing the PlayStation 4 version of the Rebirth Trilogy. And they announced that it's going to be on fall of 2025. And if you follow the website, if you follow Twitter, yes, there is no limited edition unlike what East Asia Soft is doing. And each game will be $40 each. So same goes with the Switch version from East Asia Soft. Maybe they're going to have some sort of bundle discount. I don't know. However, to some extent, great it may be. So you can either get the game on Switch. Granted, you have to do it on PlayStation. Not a lot of people can do that. But the easiest way is the PlayStation 4. But to some extent, if you have a PlayStation console, you probably already played this on the Vita. You probably already played it on Steam. Not really demanding games. So getting it on the PS4, maybe there are chances. I might consider it double dipping just to help Idea Factory, give them my money. But to some extent, it'll be a little tricky, especially with Rebirth 1 Plus, because if you have a PS5, chances are you already bought Hyper Neptunia Reverse, which is an enhance of Rebirth Plus 1. A lot more content versus the PS4 version. However, if you only have a PS4, never had a Vita, your PC can't run Steam game for whatever reason, and you never played the Rebirth series, then here's your chance. Again, the backstory was that originally, Idea Factory International was only going to release it on Switch. They're not even going to care about the PlayStation, which is unfortunate. And I did mention this in a different video that ever since the new management and Idea Factory compiled, rumor has it that a lot of these people are not really supported with PlayStation. Again, I could be wrong. Rumor. People are just guessing. However, it does look like to some extent that they were favoring Switch more. Makes sense. Switch effect makes more money. But then the minute they got denied with releasing the Rebirth series for NOA, NTSC version was denied, well, the alternative was just doing a PlayStation 4 version. Again, I'm just now going to theorize, hypothesize, trying to think what they think, if they're happy or not. So are they really happy that at least they finally released the Rebirth series on modern console in the West? Yes and no. Yes, because at least you're going to make money to some extent. More people get a chance to play it. Probably no, because they rather release it on the Switch because they'll make more money. That's why it's sort of, you notice there's not a lot of buzz about it. They're like, hey, look, it's going to come out. They're not making a big deal. Because to some extent, whether you like or not, they probably know the majority of people who play this game probably already have a Vita, Steam, and chances are they might not buy this on the PlayStation 4. Why should they play it again like they already played before? Well, how come it's different than the Switch? Well, one is the portability. Especially for people who only has a Switch as their console, that's probably kind of makes sense of why you do it. You're trying to focus it on the Switch. But again, couldn't do it, so they're doing some alternative. But it is what it is. At least finally now, the games are going to come out on the Switch and on PlayStation 4. So, once again, Hyper Neptunia Rebirth series on the PlayStation 4 will be coming out on fall of 2025. There will not be a limited edition for this one. I think Amazon said each one is $40 each. Maybe Idea Factory Store will do a sort of a bundle, but we'll just have to wait and see. But if you want a better version, the Definitive Collector's Edition, East Asia Soft have it. You can get the game for $40 standard, but if you want a limited edition, they are limited. I think 1,000 were only made. Then you go to East Asia. Like I said, if you want free shipping, I think it's $100 because you're buying an import. It is what it is, but to some extent, it is an unfortunate something with Idea Factory that it didn't went to the plan that they wanted because, again, my theory behind it, a lot of the talk was They were trying to focus more on the console than PlayStation. I don't know why. Because to some extent, Scarlet Salvation, originally, they were just going to do it on Steam. They're not even going to do it on PlayStation. PlayStation, for whatever reason, in the West. Again, there's something wrong there. I don't know. Maybe Idea Factory or Compile Heart don't like PlayStation fans in the West. I don't know. Like Bruce and Shay just trying to do their best, trying to explain what's going on. But I don't know. Because maybe the assumption is that if they port it on the PlayStation console, it's probably not going to sell well versus the other system or PC. I don't know, because Rendisposia is out on Steam, but it's never been in PlayStation 4 in the West. People have been asking. Shay and Bruce said, okay, we hear you, but of course, push come to shove, probably Compile Hard, Idea Factory are just ignoring it to deaf's ear, like, yeah, whatever, it's not going to work, it's not marketable. Mario Skelter 2, it's not even on PlayStation 4 in the West, it's in Japan. Granted, the rumor was, I did talk about it in a different video, that if they try to port, maybe not right now, but before that, they might have to say, oh, well, you have to censor it, so that's going to be wasting their time and resource. They screwed that one. But now with the different people behind it, maybe. But we just have to wait and see what's going to happen. But, well, it seems the new people in Idea Factory, Compile Art, again, I could be wrong. They're probably not supportive of PlayStation, especially in the West. I don't know, maybe market reason, capitalize on their sale. But it is what it is there. Since it's been more than a year, a lot of the event happened with Neptunia Rebirth Trilogy. And here's a recap. If I remembered, April of 2024, IFI announced that the Neptunia Rebirth Trilogy was going to come in the West on modern console, but the catch was it was going to be a Switch exclusive to some extent. Maybe there were plans for PS4 port in the long run, but as what it looks like it was going to be Switch exclusive. Somebody asked IFI, said, hey, what about the PlayStation 4? Since in Japan it was already out. And they said, well, usually their rhetoric corporate response, I mean, it is what it is. It's all a business. It's a protection to some extent. They said was, we have no plan. It's always been like, oh, we have no plan. Maybe, whatever. And it is what it is. Annoying maybe, but that is sort of a business rule. If they're superior from Japan, Compile Hard Idea Factory is not saying anything. They're not telling them what to release. They can't do anything about it. They can give suggestions. They've been doing that. But push come to shove, a lot of times, a lot of the Japanese company, whether you like or not, they don't listen. And that's why. So at a time, people believed that it was only going to be a Switch exclusive because there have been a couple of Idea Factory games that never came out on the PlayStation 4. Dead Alive, Rendisposia, as of right now, it's not on the PS4. People wanted it. And the reason was, we want a broader audience. But what it looks like is that they really don't want to release the game on the PS4 because it might not sell. Or, like I said in a different video, that the new people at Idea Factory Compile Hard, they're not a fan of PlayStation and they're trying to avoid them because, again, maybe it's not financially justified for them or some other reason. I don't know. Like I said, Scarlet Salvation originally in the West was only going to be Steam. And then people basically voiced their concern. They said, all right, we're going to release it also on the PS4 and PS5. Hopefully that is changing around because some other game, Mario Skelter 2, as of right now, sadly, is not on the PS4. A lot of people have been asking for it, including myself. Idea Factory National are well aware. They try to talk to Compiler Idea Factory, but in a video that I talk about that, the possibility of why it'll never go to a PS4, maybe now, but for a while in the past, was censorship, and they don't want to deal with it because the Steam version, yeah, it's censored. You have to manually put in the patch to able to play the purification mode. But again, it is what it is. There's some weird situation with Sony and Idea Factory Compile Hard. But with that said also, in their latest stream, since it's been already more than a year, I try and get an insight of what's the history, the reason behind why at one point IFI was just going to release this games, the Rebirth Trilogy, only Switch exclusive. People said it would be nice on the PS4. They said, well, we'll just have to wait and see what happened. Yada, 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 corporate response. So I try to ask that to Bruce. Unfortunately, when I posted the first question, it was really confusing.
Just wondering, why is the original plan for the Rebirth Trilogy going to Switch exclusive in the West and not on the PlayStation 4? Let me see if I'm reading this wrong. Just wondering, why was the original plan for the Rebirth Trilogy going to be Switch exclusive in the West and not on PlayStation 4? I'm pretty sure I'm reading that wrong, but if I'm understanding correctly, if the PS4 is exclusive to the West, the Idea Factory International publication of the PlayStation 4 version, yeah, that one is exclusive to the West, if that is what you're asking about planning. But if I'm wrong, you can ask it again and maybe I could figure it out.
Yes. Unfortunately, I guess it's probably my fault, assuming that they know the history, and I keep forgetting that to some extent, a lot of these employees, they do tend to forget like what happened like even last year. They don't have that sort of a memory. It's a common thing with human, believe it or not. It's like, I got things to think about. I got a lot of things to do. I can't think something in the past. You have to recap to me what it is. I mean, case in point, I was watching one of Smash JT's video, one of his stream, and he even said that I put so much video, I can remember what I put. And it is what it is. I'm also guilty to some extent. So, yeah, it was a mistake. My assumption was that they knew the story. I kind of did that also with a podcast, the Social Link podcast. Alex, yes, when I watched them in the past, I did try and make a reference question. And Alex said, yeah, I don't remember the story about it. I had to, like, give it sort of a memory jog to some extent. And, like, yeah, but to some extent is that, as what a lot of people would say is, think of the now, not in the past. It's good to sort of learn about the past, like sort of a history archive note, but to some extent is that, look, they're not going to remember what happened like last year to some extent, not everything, and they're just going to move on. So that was on me there. So yeah, the question was really kabobble, but what I did was I reconfigured the question, and it was much better, and they knew the story behind it, but unfortunately, to some extent, they did not really answer my question. It would be nice, but I'll explain that.
Oh, I think we got a NautoAis reconfiguration of the question here. Originally, IFI was planning to release the Neptunia Rebirth Trilogy only on Switch before NOA denied it. And now they're releasing it on PS4 while East Asia Soft is releasing it on Switch. I got you now. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's pretty much what you're saying there. We were originally going to put it on the Switch till it did not. We found that it did not meet the requirements for Nintendo of America for us to have it on there. And then we decided to put it out on PS4. And then East Asia Soft decided to put Asian versions on the Switch. So that's pretty much what you laid out there is what happened.
So yeah, so unfortunately, what Bruce basically reacted to my question was, yeah, it's like perfectly story. Like that was the story is. And what happened was I trying to say, okay, why? So what is the reason behind that? Why is it at one point before Nintendo of America denied it for whatever reason and East Asia so have to step up? What was the reason behind it? What was the decision? Any insight? Any hints? You know, just to understand like what's going on the mind of Compile Hard Idea Factory. And unfortunately, to some extent, they really just looks like, again, no hate from both Bruce and Shay. They sort of look like they just want to move on. They don't want to answer the question. I mean, it is what it is. It's a business because they might give something like an idea and this is what the Compile Idea Factory is all about. We don't like that. Sort of kind of like disrespecting the company. You don't want that to some extent. So when I try to ask, so what's the insight about what I explained? And Bruce what basically said to some extent was, well, it is what it is. That's what happened. That was the plan. Nothing else to say. Technically, is that, yeah, that was the plan. We can't really give you a reason why the decision, insight, whatever. Again, most common rules going to happen is that consumers just have to give their theory about it, but you're never, ever going to get a concrete answer of why. Maybe to some extent they will, but sometimes, most of the time, they won't. And in this case here, they just said was, to some extent in the end was, yes, it is what it is. It was originally planned before Nintendo of America denied it. Now we're putting it in the PS4. That's how it is. And that's all we're going to leave it to it. And it is unfortunate about it. 1 second before I close this video is Hyper Dimension Neptunia Rebirth series are coming out in the West. Once again in the PlayStation 4, fall of 2024. In the Switch, East Asia Soft are going to be releasing them. I think the first one in summer, the second one's on fall, the third one could be winter 2025, 2026, who knows, but at least there's your option there to some extent. So with that, I'll see you guys later.
After the Rebirth trilogy gets fully ported to PS4 and Switch, they start porting it to Xbox. I don't know. An Xbox port would be nice, I guess. Yeah, for sure. No plans at the moment, but you never know. Close to completing all the Neptunia manga and light novels. That's what's up. Yoda Gary putting work on the collecting. Nice.